recording has begun. So stop me, ask me questions. I want everybody to understand everything. And I like it when things are like conversation. So even if you're teaching a class to adult learners about financial literacy, make sure they know it's a conversation, because real life encounters are conversations and they take wild turns. So it's just helpful to mimic the playing field when you can. Do you guys have any questions for me about like anything yet?
Not yet.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to share my screen, and here it is. So I shared with you this folder in an email. So can you guys all see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll start with a sample lesson plan. And I just found this like online. You can type in ESL lesson plan. There's so many. Here, I'll show you. You just pick the one that fits you. There's no right or wrong answer. With literacy volunteers, they'll make you go to a tutor training, and mine was in person. It was 7 hours in Morgantown. But they basically, you get a lesson plan, and they're all fine. I'll send you mine so you can use that if you want. And it has basically the components of a lesson. So it has what you're going to do, the activity. It's just, they're all very similar. So I'll go back to mine. So here's some first notes I want to tell you guys. When I first started teaching, I wanted to fit 500 things into one lesson. I wanted to do idioms, grammar, 10 vocab words, and have a conversation about, I don't know, like something very difficult to talk about, like maybe women's rights. And that's too much. They're going to walk away feeling overwhelmed and they might not get anything. So keep it very, very simple, especially in the beginning. Each lesson should focus on 1 or 2 big, huge themes, and then only introduce vocab about 1 to 5 words. So if you have like 8 really easy words that they probably already know, then you can do all 8. But if it's like pretty complex words or phrases, keep between 1 and 5. And then teaching is like entertaining. So move on and change course. If you get this kind of look, like move on, ask them questions. So I'll always have a list of questions, like conversation starters. You don't have to just come up with it. And I'll show you, there's websites that are like ESL conversation questions and activities. So you can just use those. But if somebody brings up something, go off that. What the learners want to talk about is always priority number 1, because they're adults, they're busy, they have kids, they have work, they have all of these concerns. And sometimes they'll email you. Like my one learner emailed me and asked me, what is the Affordable Care Act and why does it matter? So the next lesson, we did a whole thing about that because that was relevant. So teaching is a lot of entertaining, engaging them. And if they're bored, spark a conversation or go in a new direction. And then most adult learners don't care about worksheets or detailed assignments. So if you try to give them homework, don't be surprised if no one does it. Make the lessons relevant to their lives. Here's some things I actually did. How to speak with your kids' teachers, like PTA meetings, workplace jargon. So like we did a variety of workplaces. I asked my learners, what's your job? And you can't just like first lesson be like, who are you? What's your job? Like, what is your soul? So they'll divulge things to you as time goes on. And that's a really important part, is that relationship with them. It starts out awkward. Like the first Zoom call, it is awkward, and that's okay. It's just going to happen. And teaching has helped me so much in my classes. Like when I have physics lab or breakout rooms on Zoom, I'm the first one to talk, and I'm like, okay, let's go for it, because I'm used to these like awkward silences and blank stares because I'm an ESL teacher. And I wasn't always online. I was in person, and then pandemic forced me online. Any questions yet? Okay. Let the students speak, encourage them as much as possible. Consider your lesson a huge success if you hear their voices more than yours. Probably won't happen. I still can't get that to happen because they're struggling with the language. They're nervous. They don't want to make a mistake. And they're kind of relying on you to sit there and talk. But the point is for them to talk and for them to make the mistake in class, so that when they go out in the community and they're talking to their coworker, they don't make the mistake there. So encourage them to make the mistake in the class. Like, tell them. Do you guys study language at all? What do you
I
guys
have
study?
before.
I
What
just study
languages?
Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish. I've taken Spanish before.
Oh, me too. It's my minor. So like, you guys get it, how when the teacher asks you a question in Spanish, you want to say like estoy bien, and that's it. You don't want to go into, but you have to, and you tell them like, this is no judgment place. And so the pace you want to talk at is slow but not condescending. It's a really fine line. Some people get on the phone with adult learners and they're like, hi, how are you? And it's really rude, and they deal with that in public. They don't want to hear that. You just have to talk slower, kind of like I'm doing now. This is a good pace. So my normal voice would be like this, but you guys can tell the difference and you can judge. And also, if they are willing, encourage them to turn their camera on, because that is how you tell if they get it, by their facial expression. Sometimes they won't, and it's cultural too, so you have to be sensitive. Sometimes people are shy or modest and they don't want to show their face, and that's okay. Just check in with them. So if Kathleen's Zoom was off, her camera was off, I would just make sure to ask her questions. I would be like, hey, Kathleen, did you get what I just said? Do we need to repeat? And then I'll like make sure they really get it. What do you think about it? How does it make you feel? Open-ended questions. Do not do yes or no. If you say yes or no, they will say no, yes, and they'll be done. Okay, so like literally say making mistakes is natural and the best way to learn. So this is my lesson plan. And once you get pro, you can make it shorter, but start out with a good detailed lesson plan to fall back on. State your goals. So you can do 1 to 3 main goals. You can do vocab, grammar, conversation. Great. And then you can fill it in exactly what you want to do. I guess this lesson plan was about quarantine, sterile. Oh, this was when pandemic started and I was teaching health literacy. So we're actually going to make a lesson to teach. So I have this whole folder for you guys, and it has, and if you want to click on it, you can now or later, I don't care. I teach current events right now, an advanced current events class. So we are going to make a lesson, and I usually do some world news and then some local news, and then we do like idioms. I pick like one big thing, like a few vocab, and a good thing is pick an article and then find hard words in it and make sure everybody gets them. And then you can do a conversation and end it with some really harder critical thinking questions. So we're going to do this right now using all of my resources here. But first, let me just quickly show you the rest of this. So the plan: introduction, warm up, always introduce yourself, first lesson. Second lesson, only if there's new people, or share something new about yourself. Always, like, I'll put in cute little pictures of what I did over the weekend. It makes them feel closer to me. Ask them how they are, and I always ask them, what is some news you heard this week? Because it's current events. And if they have something they want to talk about, then I don't care if the whole lesson shifts and goes to what they want to talk about, because that's more valuable to me and them. And then vocab, and then current article, and you can delete and add, and you'll get a sense of how long this will take. So if you come on Monday night to see me teach it, it'll be like, you'll see the pace at which I go, and you can speed up or slow down. It's a really on the fly thing. It's like you're planning not to have a plan. So you're planning all this stuff, but then you might not use half of it, but at least you had it ready. So final notes, always remind them that there is a lesson the day before and the day after. They're very busy. Provide them with support outside of class. Let them know they can send you articles, or you can clarify stuff. Like, I get emails like, Christina, what does this mean? And I'm happy to answer. And if I don't know, I look it up. Try not to say, I don't know, because they have like really not many other people. You're their ESL teacher. Like, you're supposed to know, not just, you're their guru on English and cultural norms, like American life. And make copies of the lesson plan. So like, I'll show you. Go here and say you have your lesson plan and you did your lesson, you're done. you want to make the next one. Make a copy, and it takes a minute, and then you have your copy, and then you rename it, and then you hit ESL Lesson Plan 2. And I put the date into like 11-13. So then you have your next one. And then you just continue off of that, but I don't want that yet. Any questions yet? Okay. So here is and you're going to be doing a lot of split screen stuff. So, oh, you can only see one screen at a time. That's okay. We'll just work with one screen at a time then. So we're going to go to the lesson plan. So the first thing is introduce myself. Optional self-introductions. They don't have to do anything. Don't be pushy. And then ask them if anything happened to them over the week that they want clarified or want to know about. So I always do a PowerPoint because it kind of engages people a little bit. So here's my PowerPoint. And this is my class name, Advanced Current Events. And I put the day and time. And then introduction. So I'll just have to keep going back between this one and the other thing. So we're going to do the first part. Introduce myself. Learners can introduce themselves. How are they? What do they want to learn? Okay, here's my introduction, and you'll have yours. And then I put things like, this is me. I love to cook. Here's my dog. It makes them feel more comfortable. Like you are a teacher, but your lessons are going to be so much more valuable if they feel like they know you, and they'll share things about themselves. And then I do how to be successful in class, all this stuff. So make sure that they're not afraid to say something, like make it very obvious that you want to be interrupted. Same right now. I want you guys to know all of the things about teaching that I have to offer. So interrupt the heck out of me. That's great. And then you can put a review of what you did last time if you want to. Sometimes it's helpful. Don't include the whole lesson, but we looked at this before the election. And so it's like how voting, the path to voting is easier for some groups than others. And this was their critical thinking. And they were like really like stumped by it because this is a complex idea, but then they have to say it in a different language. So this was our little review. This is like the warm-up question for them. What is something you heard in the news this week? If you're teaching financial literacy, then you can say, what is something you did to save money? Or what is some bargain that you found? And they might not know what bargain means. So every single sentence you write down, you have to read it as a teacher and think, is there something in here they might not know? If you use a word like bargain. And then this is last time's lesson. So all I did was copy it, and now we're going to fill it in with new stuff. So we're going to pick 1 or 2 global news articles that we think are relevant. So we're going to go here to my resources. So I have here. You guys have access to all of this, and you can add new things. So like I have a lot. So you'll never run out of things to go off of. Here's some idioms. Always put pictures because they help you really remember. So we want to do world news. I like BBC because it's pretty concise, but you can mix up your source. Okay, so let's see. Kathleen, you're going to pick one and Brooke's going to pick the other one. So if you see anything interesting that you think is, I want to do world before we do America. I don't want America. I haven't done Asia for a while. Okay, so Kathleen's going to pick the Asia article that we do. Doesn't matter. Just let me, what are you thinking?
The one about the typhoon in the Philippines, I've been kind of following that story as well. That one's interesting.
Yes. I think it's very important that we recognize there are disasters and events happening at other places when all we hear about is the election. Have you guys heard about Hurricane Eta?
I just heard about that today.
Yeah, so it's this massive hurricane typhoon that's been like killing people, landslide, like 300 people in Honduras are homeless. Like,
yeah,
it's terrible, but we only hear about it when it touches Florida. So it's, okay. So this is like my process. This is what I do when I make a lesson plan. Okay, typhoon. So here's what I do. I glance it over. I make sure it's something I want to do. Make sure that the headline is, if there's something interesting in it, I'll like especially pick it. So typhoon. Okay. Kathleen, what's a word in here that people who are studying English might not know? The headline.
I would say typhoon, the one you just highlighted.
Yes. Brooke, what's another one that they might not know?
Possibly powerful.
Maybe.
Like an adjective.
Also, dozens. I study Spanish I've studied it for 6 years. I don't think I can tell you what dozens in Spanish is. So be aware. You can't just assume. So we're going to have to make sure they know these, okay? We'll put the picture, and then let's find some good words. And how I do this is, what are things they're going to hear in real life that they're going to need to know. So Kathleen, help me find something in here that's a good word or phrase. And I can scroll down if you need me to. I found one, but what you tell me.
Tens of thousands of people have sought shelter in evacuation centers.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good sentence, because this is going to be in a lot of different articles about disasters. You're going to have to, I'll make sure that my students know, what do tens of thousands mean? How many is that? And then sought. What is sought? Shelter, evacuation center, and make sure they know this is a British way of spelling it, because this is BBC. So this is a great sentence. Brooke, what's another sentence in here that might be beneficial to put in?
It was the most powerful one seen the country in 7 years.
Yeah, that's good. But ESL wise, a word they might not know, I would use this one, submerging. So you're looking for words that people might not know. And if you already did powerful in the headline, I would choose something else. So again, there's no right or wrong answer. Like, you could definitely do that and it'll help people. So I don't paste the whole article. So here's what I do. I go to my favorite little thing, snipping tool. Do you guys have snipping tool? No? You need snipping tool. If you get free stuff. Oh, wait, I'm not ready yet. Okay. So you have to sometimes format it so it fits. Okay. Then you need to get snipping tool, or the thing where you can take a screenshot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I take my little screenshot, copy it. Then I go over here to my lesson. I delete the old one and I paste the new one. There it is. And then here it is. And then we're going to put in those sentences that we thought were going to be helpful. So we delete the old thing. Because I used to do it where I would like go to this with them and scroll down. They just sit there and stare at you. It's not productive. So we're going to do the tens of thousands of people. And then we're going to do this one, submerging, because I think that word's good. So, and then we're going to highlight the weird words if you want to. I'm just very crazy about having everything. I want them to know that's an important one.
Right.
And then this whole thing is kind of important, so we'll just leave it as is. There we go. And then when you go over this, if you attend Monday night, you'll see me be like, okay, pretend you guys are students. Brooke, read me this headline and then stop at any words you're not sure about. And so pretend you don't know dozens. So sometimes they'll struggle with dozens or something. And then you stop them and say, okay, let's stop. Let's think about it. Dozens. I'll give you an example. A dozen would be how many eggs come in a pack or carton. And then it takes a turn. Say they don't know what carton is. You'll go to Google and you'll be like, okay, guys, I'm going to show you a carton of eggs. And then you show them the picture. And they're all like, oh, so now when they hear that again, they're never going to forget carton of eggs. Whereas if you had just said like, oh, it's like a carton of eggs, move on. they would probably not get it yet. So be very visual, especially with Zoom. That's actually one of the benefits of online is you can go to Google like this and just show them stuff. Okay, great. We have this. And then they're going to read these, and then you're going to be like, what do you think? Have you heard of this? And then always include something about their culture. So like you can ask them. And I don't know the politically correct way to do this. So I don't really say your country. In your country, does this happen? Because they're Americans, especially with literacy volunteers. They're living like in Morgantown, like they're your neighbor. So I wouldn't say your country. I'll say sometimes the country of origin, the country you were born in, the community you grew up in. The way that you phrase it is pretty important. Okay. So this is another news I did. So now my last lesson was all about who is Kamala Harris. Okay. We have our global news. Now let's go back to BBC and let's pick. Now Brooke gets to pick. So now she gets to pick something. It can be US, it doesn't have to be. What looks good to you?
Can we do the one about Biden?
Yeah, this is important because the more countries that recognize, and that's a concept to explain to them. When other countries recognize the president of any country, it makes it more official. So then you can explain that to them too. After long, okay, great. This looks really good. I would have picked this one for sure. So snipping tool or screenshot tool, whatever you want to do. And I try to get that little like underneath the picture what it says because I make them read that too. So delete that. Add that. And sometimes you have to make it pretty big because their computers are like, it's better to make things bigger. Okay. We have that. And we deleted everything from last time. We did scrutiny last time. I didn't even really know what scrutiny meant, so I had to Google it. So you're going to learn a lot of English through this. Okay. So Kathleen, find me a good sentence from this.
The China-US relationship is crucial to both sides and the wider world.
Oh, this is packed. Okay, what do you guys think about the next thing? The second one.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of words in there.
Yeah, I think it's important too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this is going to be really good. I think it's going to stump them for a minute. And then you have to gauge what level they're at. So some of my learners are higher level, some are lower level. You make sure everybody gets it. So I know my one girl's going to understand this. I'm going to make the other guy read it. And that happens over many lessons. Okay, let's do something else. Brooke, will you pick another thing?
The two countries that have sparred over espionage.
I think we already have espionage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's do another. I can scroll down more.
Mr. Biden's a vocal critic of Moscow.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Because vocal critic, they'll probably hear that. Remember, you're basing this off of what are they going to hear in real life, what's common, and what's important to everyday life is the goal for me in my class. And everybody's class is going to be different. Let me just make sure there's nothing, and you guys tell me too if you see anything else. Oh, North Korea. Okay. I think we're good. Let's do that other one. Okay, so what words should I highlight in the first one, Kathleen?
tensions, espionage, pandemic, crucial.
Yep. Okay, Brooke, what should I highlight here?
Vocal critic.
Yes.
And could you say like biggest threat?
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be just like literal. It can be like, what does that mean? And then you can explain, how is Russia the biggest threat? Because that's something in American culture that we think that Russia is a threat. I would also make sure that they all know what identified means. Okay, so we have our global news, our US news, and then this is my last lesson I'm teaching them because I teach a 10-week series. So let's do some West Virginia news. So what's your guys' favorite West Virginia news site?
I have like a News Today app on my phone. I don't know any websites though.
Let's Google helps. West Virginia news. Where is this? What the heck? That's terrible. Torturing and killing cats. Are you guys from West Virginia?
No.
No.
Where are you from?
I'm from Pennsylvania.
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, cool. I've never been to Missouri. But my dad lives in Pennsylvania right now. I don't really like this website. Okay. Let's go here. This is pretty. This slapped me in the face a little bit.
Yeah.
More than 9,000 students. Okay. So it's kind of like just picking what is interesting and what you think people need to know. And a lot of my learners are parents or students themselves. A lot of the time, it'll be like a husband or wife, and one of them is getting a PhD or studying at WVU, and the other one doesn't have that much exposure to the outside community much. So their English is not accelerating as fast as their partner. Okay, so we're going to highlight this. Or I mean, we're going to take a snipping tool screenshot. And then I always send them the PowerPoint so they can go back and read this. I wish there was a picture. That's okay. Okay, so we paste it here. And then let's find something interesting from the article. Okay, everybody just look and jump out at me when you see something. This is pretty, like this whole thing.
Yeah.
This has got some hard English. Okay, I don't want to cram it, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it on the second thing. And then we'll make this big. This is pretty. Okay, Kathleen, what's one thing I should highlight?
Operations.
Brooke, your turn. What should I highlight?
Enrollment.
Okay, Kathleen?
Circumstances.
Yeah. Brooke?
Predicted.
Yep. Kathleen?
Exodus.
Yeah. Pandemic aided exodus. Yeah. Maybe projection. And then something I do to help, especially if there's a really hard one, exodus. I'm going to go to Google Images. I'm going to type in exodus. And we're going to find a picture that helps explain it. So an exodus in this case is when a lot of kids are leaving school, right? but we want to explain exodus as a lot of people leaving. Maybe this will be funny, but then make sure you tell them it's school. So people are leaving school. So here, this is exodus. And then you can be like, you might hear this in like religious references. There. Now they'll have a visual of exodus. Okay. Next on our lesson plan is, let's check. Vocab. Okay, we did that kind of through our articles, but I always like to do an idiom because they're going to hear them all the time. So here on my thing, I have like a lot of idioms. Oh, I have texting lingo, American slang. What should we do? Kathleen, texting or a slang?
Texting.
Okay. Okay. See, some of these are like so strange, like you'll never hear these.
I say, yeah, I don't even know some of these.
So we're going to pick 4 that people use all the time. So Kathleen, pick me one from this screen that you think is used a lot.
IDK. I don't know.
I think they know that one.
Okay.
Just because I know my learners and I've taught them that one. Pick a different one.
LOL, laughing out loud.
I think they know that one too.
What about JK? Just kidding.
Yeah. I never see it like that one, so I'm just going to highlight this one. So I copy it, and you put at the top of your title. And then we're going to do that. So JK is just kidding. Okay. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. Okay. Brooke, pick something from over here.
Thanks.
THX?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be something that they get confused about. Okay. Kathleen, pick me one more.
GTG, gotta go.
Yeah. I've never heard GTGB. So we're just going to go GTG. Got to go. And then Brooke, pick me one more. Do we want those? No, let's just do. Pick me one from here while I plug in my laptop.
BRB.
Okay, which one did you pick?
BRB.
Where is it?
I don't know, I just saw you scroll by, but I was like, oh.
I'll just type it. BRB. Be right back. So what I want to do is actually, what you're going to do is you're not going to have what it is. So you're going to type in the answer as you teach the lesson, basically, is what we're going to do. And you can, on Zoom, you can type in stuff. And if you come on, you guys know how to type in stuff on Zoom? So we're going to make these really big because we don't want to overwhelm them with too many. And I'm going to do them lowercase because that's how they'll probably see them. There you go. Texting lingo. Okay. So that's like our vocab part of the day. And we'll fill that in. We did texting lingo. And then you can make sure that you make examples. So I would say like, hey, I'm teaching the class, you're my students right now. Okay, pretend that you get a text message and it says, I hate you, JK. What does that mean? And then your learners will try to answer it. And then I can say, okay, Brooke, make me an example text using JK. And then everybody has to do that. You don't have, if you have like a lot, you don't have to waste time. Just everybody can just do one. But making the examples is a very important step, and go through them very slowly. Okay, great. We did our news article. Conversation. Okay, so this is a current events class. So the conversation is going to have to be about current events, preferably. So let's delete that. We did what the House and Senate are. So conversation. And then we can go over here to my lesson resources. I have some conversation topic websites. And we can look through them. And if you guys see anything that's current event related, let me know. I don't think this website has what I want, so I'm going to do current events conversation topics. And it doesn't have to be for ESL. Okay. So this is just like a family website, which is kind of interesting. And we're going to go down and see what's the census, why does it matter? That could be good. We could do why is the Electoral College controversial?
Oh, that would be interesting.
I think that would be good. Do you guys think that would be good?
Yeah, that's a in-depth conversation though.
It is, but we're going to have to break it down and make it ESL friendly. One sec, I have to let out my cough. Okay. So what is the Electoral College and why is it controversial? This is a good thing to teach. So you're having a conversation and you're teaching at the same time. So what we're going to do is, I feel bad for taking people's stuff, but this is just a good lesson. So we're going to copy this, paste it, make it big. So what's the first thing I'm going to want to teach them when we talk about this?
What the Electoral College is.
Yeah. So the Electoral College is, and then we're going to find out what it is. Because do you guys know?
This is so embarrassing. I should as a political science major, but
I really don't either. It's okay. Okay.
Yeah, I have a pretty basic understanding of how it works.
This is good.
Yeah.
This whole paragraph is great. We're just going to do this paragraph. Ooh, it's too big. And then a visual. Like if you have all those words,
Yeah.
do a visual. What is Electoral College? And maybe there's a nice diagram. I love diagrams. This is good.
Could you use the one from the recent election?
I think so.
Like Electoral College map 2020.
I know all the votes aren't even in yet.
Yeah, I think they're still recounting because of a few issues.
In Georgia, right?
Yeah, Georgia was really interesting this year. It's been a red state for the longest time. And then it's flipped.
So which map, I mean, this is at a certain point. That's not, let's see this one.
Oh,
I mean, this is good because it shows like the counting still going on. And it shows how many votes they have. This is good. So then you're going to want to break it down with them. You're going to show them this and talk them through it. And talk about like West Virginia. Great. Okay, back to our conversation topic. Roots in slavery.
Yeah, some people get upset about the Electoral College because of the 3/5 compromise. I know another big issue with it is like a lot of people see it as a barrier between like the people and government because it stops like direct democracy. So technically the people don't like vote like it. Yeah.
And it's almost like a geographical divide. Like obviously the states with more cities have more people and it's based on people. So
Yeah, so people like the popular vote doesn't directly determine the presidency. It's the electoral college votes.
So the people are voting for a representative, right?
No, so in a presidential election, what happens is like everyone casts their vote, and the electors in the electoral college are supposed to vote. Like in the state of West Virginia, the popular vote is always red, and so all of the electors vote red.
So they vote for the electors?
No, the electors are appointed. I don't know how. Yeah.
Or they just show what they want, and then the electors do what they will.
Yeah, so like when you go to vote, you vote for the president of the United States, and then that's the popular vote. And if Joe Biden wins the popular vote in your state, the electors, he wins all of the elector votes for your state.
Or it should be like theoretically that's what should happen.
Right.
But
There's some states that don't require that, but yeah, that's how it should work.
Are either of you going to be able to come on Monday night?
I should be able to.
I think so.
I might have you guys speak if that's okay. Because you guys get it more than I do. Okay. Okay. So this is good too. It prevents the small states from being ignored.
Yeah.
Good. And then, so, yeah, it compromises one person, one vote. So then we're going to do questions for the students. And I would just pick like 3 questions. So we can do, should it be one person, one vote? Or does the Electoral College help small states? Okay, there's a good question. That's gonna, you might have to really explain it to them too. Like, how is this gonna, because they're gonna probably think straightforward and be like, yeah, one person, one vote. And then you can play devil's advocate. I do that all the time. Be like, what about the small states that don't have as much of a say? What about like little Rhode Island? Well, Rhode Island's pretty populated. I don't really know, you know, compared to California, it's not, I guess. Okay, and then let's see what they have about here with the do you think the Electoral College is fair and equitable? And that's a chance to teach them what equitable is.
I don't know that I could give you a definition for equitable very accurately.
And then I like to do a question about like their experience. So if you are a citizen, or if you, or when you, so how about if you were or are a citizen, would you vote? And then let's end it on a broader thing. Why is it important to vote in the country you live in, even if you are not from there? These are good. And then let's delete the rest. I did glass elevator. Okay, and then let's show them a map or something about like immigrants who vote, like, and how many that was or something. So this is good. This is from the Pew Center. This is a really good source. So I like to end it on a picture that they can like look at that's like more complex and they can think about it. And then see you next time. So back to the lesson plan. So we did electoral college, voting. We didn't do grammar, that's okay. Reflection, you can review. So what I'll do is I'll be like, I'll scroll back and be like, I'll show them, be like, don't forget these words, don't forget espionage, vocal critic, texting lingo, like remember all this stuff. And I'll be like, I'll send you this PowerPoint, you can review it and go over it, share it with your friends. And then I will ask them to reflect. How are you feeling? I'll ask, do you feel like you know more? Do you feel more educated about this? How so? Remember, get them to talk as a point. Ask for feedback. So I'll put a slide that's like, oh, what's your plan for the week? So I'll have more than this. I'll have, what do you want to learn about next time? What's your plan for the week? And this is the last lesson, so I'm just doing this to show you guys what I do. Ask them for feedback. So was this lesson helpful? How could it be better? Always get feedback. It'll make you a better teacher. Yeah. So there you go. There is a lesson that I'm going to teach, and then I always put a cute little picture of my life. So I'll surprise you guys with what picture I choose of something I did over the week. And are there any questions right now about anything, any part of this building the lesson? No? Okay, great. So here's the lesson I'm going to teach Monday at 6 p.m. I'll send you guys the Zoom link to that. Here is the folder. So in the folder, this is something that I made. Reliable news sources, local resources. For a lot of people, Facebook is their only news source, and that's no good. And especially immigrants that aren't sure, like if I went to Indonesia and tried to find the best news source, I wouldn't know. So here's some reputable sources, but this is all according to me. So I am biased in that this is what I think, and I make sure they know that. This is my opinion, that these are the best news sources. So, you know, New York Times, BBC, and then West Virginia. And then I put some COVID resources, and the learners are all in Morgantown. So here's some free resources that they can use. One sec, guys, sorry.
There you go.
Sorry, somebody had a very important question. Okay, testing locations, and then more information about my classes. So I do, right now I'm teaching this advanced current events for literacy volunteers. So I started as a one-on-one tutor, which is what they'll probably have you do. And you do a Zoom with someone. It used to be in person, but you can do a Zoom with someone like once a week. They're incredibly flexible, highly recommend working with them. And then once you do that for a while, you can teach a group class. So I've taught between 4 and 10 people. It's easier when there's less. I know you're like, I want to teach 30 people, but the point is to have everybody talk, and with 30 people talking over each other, it's hard. So keeping the group classes small, it's trial by error, and I'm always here for you guys if you need help with lesson plans or resources. This thing has everything. It has, like, for grammar, if you want to mix it up one day, you can go here and do like right and wrong. So you can show them the right and the wrong. I must to call him immediately. You don't need to there. It's I must call him immediately. And if you learn Spanish, you know that the verb has the to in it already. So a lot of Spanish speakers will say, I must to run. I must to go to the grocery store. No. So you just, and use your language skills to your advantage. If you spoke Spanish and you have a Spanish learner, relate things to them, like say like, oh, in Spanish it would be this word, but in English we do it this way. Be relatable as much as you can. So here's the resources, here's that. You guys have this folder now. We just made a lesson plan. This is my process. Are there any questions?
Not right now, no, but I might be emailing you in the